Ok, mi scrive il David.
Dá-me possibilidade de fazer chat.
Já podes dizer.
Can you hear me and can you see the video? Presentation? Yes? Yeah. Okay. So sorry about this. So this is. How about now? Is it okay? No. On your room? Can you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Okay. So I was just letting you know about what is the summary of all the science that we have today about the stages of the ocean. Okay. And so this is a very important message that we need to understand, is that we don't have anymore the benefit of the doubts about what we know. So we know what's going on, and the last years have been very important about bringing this consensus to the scientific community. And all these reports coming out from the United Nations, both from the climate and the biodiversity panels, clearly expressed what we are facing. And even this year, these two new reports presented a very, very clear picture for all of us, for decision makers, for society. And essentially, we know that we are facing two existential problems. One is a climate emergency, and the second one is a species extinction crisis. And I'm going to talk very briefly about both so that we can then see how to address them. On the climate front, we know what's going on. We know that we are putting too much greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and this is causing a triple threat in the ocean. The ocean is becoming warmer because it absorbs 90% of the excess heat. It's becoming more acidic because the CO2, at least a third of that, enters the ocean and acidifies the ocean. And because of both these effects and also because of pollution, the ocean is becoming with less oxygen. And the evidence for this climate emergency is clear when you see these graphics. Okay, so in the last decades, in the last years, we are breaking record after record of heat, both in the atmosphere, but also in the ocean. And what you can see here is that the ocean is absorbing this 90% of the energy that is being put out is being absorbed not only in the surface ocean, but also in the deep ocean. And you can see here the percentage that is being stored in the land, in the ice and the atmosphere, which is this red stripe over here. And you can easily see that if there was no ocean on the planet would not be inhabitable anymore, because the amount of heat that has been produced due to climate change would put the temperature outside the safe limits for humans to exist. And this is accelerating. So this is the second note. We know that the ocean is warming, and we know that all these trends are coming faster. And this has consequences for life on the ocean. We know that the climatic system and the ocean are completely interlinked. And so the species are responding to this warming by adapting to the new situation, either by moving around or by changing the composition of the communities. And here in Portugal, for instance, we are finding a tropicalization of our ocean, of our coastal ocean. So the water is becoming warmer, and we have more species coming from the south and less species that have a more northern origin. And we also know that when we hintcast these trends, this is a very recent phenomenon. So this is another important message for you, is that what was the norm 100 years ago is not the norm today. And so in 100 years, we have changed the planet profoundly. And in some cases, we are also seeing, we are actually seeing very, very strange things. This is a tropical species that we found here in Portuguese waters a few years ago. This species is not supposed to be here at all. You may recognize this as a surgeonfish. Some of you, I don't know, all of you, maybe recognize also this from the cartoons. And we have been intensively trying to find Nemo in our waters. We haven't been able to do that yet, but we did find Dory already. So these are the types of changes that we have in front of us. And actually, when we pull all these averages, we see that all these movements of species to the north is coming up. So the situation in the ocean is a dynamic situation where the climate system has a strong impact on the behavior of species. What this means is, of course, this has huge impacts on things like fisheries, on the biodiversity of coastal areas, and all the species that are moving up to the poles, of course, will face challenges. The polar species don't have anywhere to retreat to, and of course, the tropical species, after moving out of the tropics, there's nothing left there as well. On the acidification, we can see this on this graph of the last 800,000 years, what's going on. So during this whole period, CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere never went over 300 ppm. And you can see that orange line over here, and this is the last 50 to 100 years. So this is what happened after the Industrial Revolution. We put all this amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, and now it exceeds 410 ppm of concentration. So a very, very striking effect of our industrialization and the way that we have developed our societies. What's happening in the ocean is, of course, because of this CO2 being absorbed. We also know why it's becoming more acidic, but also at the same time that it's becoming more acidic, there are also other chemical changes happening, such as the fact that some of the carbonate ions that exist in the water are becoming less abundant. And this is very important for many species that depend on aragonite or calcite to form their skeletons, to form their shells, even for coral reefs to form reefs. And so these changes are already happening. And here in our institute, and Anna will talk to you about this, we are also studying the effects on fish. And in particular, larval fish are very, very vulnerable to these changes in chemistry. And we are seeing lots of changes in their behavior, in their physiology overall. The oxygenation, that's happening in the ocean is also having wide impacts all over the planet. You can see that there's lots of areas, all these red areas over here are areas where oxygen levels are becoming too low in many cases for life to exist. And so in lots of situations, this results in death of many marine species. But even in the open ocean, some species of high metabolism are finding difficulty to dive to the depths that they used to dive because there is not enough oxygen there to power their metabolism. And so this was a report coming out from IUCN in 2019 that brought this deoxygenation problem to the agenda. And so since we know what's going on, you may ask what's happening about what are we doing to try to face these problems. And this is a bit where what can be synthesized on the challenges of the climate if you think about the Paris Agreement. I'm pretty sure that you all have heard about the Paris Agreement. All the international community is trying to keep the atmosphere not to warm more than 1.5 degrees, which is this green line that you see here. However, we are currently at this point, and what's going to happen in the next 10 years is going to determine the fate of this planet for the next centuries. Currently, in business as usual scenarios, this is where we will end up by the end of the century, with a planet 4 degrees or 5 degrees warmer than pre-industrial levels. And we don't know what kind of planet is this, because during the whole human evolution, we've never faced nothing similar to this. Even if we think at the pledges that are on the table today, they will still put the planet on a path of 2 to 3 degrees warming. And this is again a planet that we don't know what will look like, because we have never faced this before. So we have a huge challenge in front of us, which is how are we going to brake at full speed to try to invert the emissions that we are putting out in the atmosphere, so that we can keep the planet under safe levels. The second challenge that we have, which is less known probably for many of you, is that at the same time that the climate is changing as it is, we are emptying the ocean. We are impacting the ocean at a level that most people don't realize. You know, studies show that only 13% of the ocean can be seen as intact, you know, can be seen as pristine. And that overall, there's a huge percentage of the ocean which is highly impacted by our activities, of course, mainly fishing, but also climate change and pollution. And in some, for many, or some species, for instance, for the top predators, the populations that are in the ocean today are only 10% of what was there when industrial fisheries began in the 1950s. So in 70 years, we were able to extract 90% of the biomass of sharks, whales, billfishes, all the big predators in the ocean. And so this is the challenge we have in front of us, which means that today, this is for terrestrial environments, but in marine environments is the same. It's not going to be enough just to promote conservation strategies. We need to change our economic model. We need to change the way we feed ourselves. We need to change the way we use the planet. We need to change the way our cities are built. We need to change, and we need to be able to address nature in a very different way, both in economic terms and also in livelihood terms. To give you a number about the impacts of humans on the planet, this was a paper coming out in 2018 that essentially weighted every living being on the planet. And so this is the relative biomass of plants, of animals, and you can see humans here. And if you pull out these numbers here on the right, you can see that from all the mammals that exist on the planet, 96% of these animals, of these mammals, are humans or human food. Okay, all the mammals, all the live mammals, all the wild mammals on the planet represent only a fraction today, only 4% of the biomass of mammals. So again, the science is clear here, and these numbers show us that we know what we are doing. So we have choices in front of us. And this is also a very exciting time to be alive, because we can make a change. We can make this change. We can do this because we know. And since we know, we need to try to understand what we can do. But at the same time that we know, we are still thinking about unthinkable things, such as this one. And I want to raise your attention to these machines that are being built and actually probably will start in this decade to start to mine the ocean, destroying the deep sea, destroying all the animals that exist there. So the challenges, in fact, that we know don't go away, you know, and there is a huge responsibility on all of us today to try to solve this problem. So let me address to you about this question on what is stopping us from saving the ocean. Why are we still on a path of destruction since we know what we are doing, which I think is a reasonable question to ask today. And one of the reasons is because we still live in a fantasy world, okay? Probably some of you recognize these characters from LOL or from Fortnite of our or other games that probably some of you play, but policies look like this. Our policies look like fantasy policies because they are not being addressing the core of the issue. And I would like to tell you that I think we have this kind of schizophrenic relationship with the ocean, you know? On one hand, when we see pictures like this one, we are at awe because we see the power of the ocean, you see these waves, you see, we have an emotional connection with the ocean. You know, but when we go down under, the ones that have the fortune to be able to do that, we start seeing actually what lives in the ocean. We start seeing the life on the ocean. We start seeing all these animals, such as these lionfish or these seahorses, these scorpion fish, all these animals that exist in these wonderful ecosystems, such as coral reefs, these parrotfish, these batfish or hawkfish, or even these lizardfish, frogfish, and tiger shark. And if you pay attention to the names that I just numbered about all these species, these are all terrestrial animal names. We talked about tigers and frogs and hawks and bats when we talk about ocean animals, because we don't have a lexicon for these. We don't live in the ocean. And this is part of the problem and part of the challenge. Is because we don't live there, we tend to forget that these animals exist. We even give some names of the animals for objects, such as jewels, for instance, or fans, or a pipe, or even a feather duster, or a hammer. So all these names are names that are familiar to us as humans, as terrestrial animals, but they are not just, if you want, to express the beauty of all these animals on the ocean. And so I would like to tell you that this divide needs to be solved, you know. When we see an image of a lion such as this one, you know, the words that come to our minds many times are these ones. We think of this lion as wildlife, we think of that animal as an individual, and we think at what it represents as the wilderness, as nature. However, when we do the equivalent in the ocean, things change a bit. You know, when we see these equivalent animals, these big predators in the ocean, we think about food, we think about resources, and we think about extracting as much biomass as we can from the ocean. And so we have this problem to solve. We have this divide that we need to bridge. You know, I just came last week from this place in the Azores, Santa Maria Island, where you can be in the water with the largest fish on the ocean, which is the whale shark that you can see here, or with these mobulas that travel all the ocean just to, you know, to share their secrets with us if you want. We don't know yet why they come to the Azores. It looks like many of them are pregnant, but the scientists have never found the babies of the mobulas, but they are ocean travelers. And this is what we need to understand when we talk about managing the ocean. We are not managing the ocean, we are managing humans and human activities that are impacting these animals on the ocean. And so finally, I would like to talk to you about a tool, which is a very important tool to try to solve some of these issues, which are marine protected areas. And these areas have been defined internationally as by the IUCN as areas where we can safeguard nature and we can restore nature in the ocean. We know, however, that in spite of the fact that for 30 years we tried to put these marine protected areas in place, we are still a long way to go in terms of safeguarding the ocean. Only 7% of the ocean has some type of protection, and less than 2% has strong protection, meaning that these areas will have no fishing. But the good news is that we know they work. We know that when these marine protected areas are put in place, they can restore ocean life, they'll bring the animals back, the fish will become larger, they'll have more fish, they'll have more species. And of course, these species don't stay inside marine protected areas, so they can replenish the ocean. And so it's very important to understand that these tools work if they are done properly. This is a marine protected area that I dove a few years ago in Mexico. It was a complete desert 20 years ago, and the fishers got together to restore the ocean life, and today it looks like this. So it's possible, we can do this, and we know that they work. We know that if we reduce mortality, so if we stop fishing and other impacts, the species will increase. We also know that this will increase the productivity of the ocean as a whole. We have shown this in several scientific papers, which is important to convince also policymakers. But we also need to understand that we need to do different, because most of the marine protected areas that we have in place today don't work because we are not able to exclude fishing from these marine protected areas. 94% of the MPAs that exist allow fishing. And so they are not doing what they should do, which is to protect nature and to restore nature. And we know what they need to be. They need to be big, they need to be well enforced, well governed, well managed, well funded. And it's an investment that has a great return. For each euro that is invested in conservation, we can get 5 to 10 euros back on economic revenue. So it's a good investment that we need to do. What we try as scientists to help with is having these assessments, overall assessments through expeditions, through exploration, where we can bring all this information together. And I'm just going to briefly talk to you about the program that we have been developing called the Blue Azores, where essentially the government has decided to move forward right now with the full protection of at least 150,000 square kilometers of the Azores. And this partnership has brought this vision that we should look at nature not only from an economic point of view, an extractive point of view, but much more than that. We need to value this nature, we need to protect it, and we need to promote it, and education is very important here. What we do is that we produce these scientific papers and these scientific reports. These reports come up with recommendations for governments for change, because again, we know what we need to do. And we know that we need these marine protected areas to be better managed and to be better assessed. We have come up with this classification system exactly to do that, to be able to assess the effectiveness of these tools. This can be explored more on this website, Classify MPAs. And recently we have collaborated with an international partnership that put out this MPA guide, which is a complete assessment. It came out in Science a few weeks ago, a complete assessment of the tool on how to use properly marine protected areas for nature restoration and to safeguard the impacts of humans on the ocean. So this guide has these 4 levels. We can discuss this a little bit later. It separates each MPA by the level of protection that it gives, from full protection to minimal protection. And of course, you should expect different results from these different levels of protection. But also there are different levels of implementation. So essentially the challenge in front of us is that this is where we came from, this is where we did, and this now is in our hands to decide where do we want to go. If we want to go to a full restoration of the ocean, we need to fully protect these areas so that they can produce the results that are expected. And the guide gives you a very clear view on how they are being protected and how they are being implemented as well. We know that the world now is moving to protect 30% of the ocean by 2030. But again, we need to protect the right 30%, and we need to protect this 30% with tools that work and not with tools that don't work. So finally, let me just tell you how do I think you can help? Because this is a question I get a lot from students. And there are essentially 3 things that you can do, okay? You can vote, you can post, and you can buy. And these 3 are very, very powerful tools that you have for change. If you vote for the right policies, if you post the right solutions on social media to your friends, and if you buy consciously and you know exactly the impacts of all the goods that you're buying are having on the planet, then we have a tool that anyone can use for change. And this tool needs to come and needs to come right now. So I'm just going to finish this presentation, and thank you very much for your patience, by showing you a video that we produced in one of our expeditions, a very short video, a teaser of this expedition that was done together with National Geographic and our partners from the Azores University, the Azores government, and the Waite Foundation. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear the sound of the video. I hope so. But I think I'll have to unmute here on the computer in order to do this. Yeah. Hi. Can you hear the sound? Consegue passar aí o vídeo? Fazer um share e passar aí?
Consigo. Consigo, professor.
Deixa-me só. Só. Só para eu ligar aqui.
Já pode falar, professor.
Sim. So we're going to try another way to try to see if you can hear the sound of the video because it's worthwhile. If not, we'll see just the images. Okay? Answer stop share.
Sim, professor.
And in the meanwhile, while we are dealing with this, you can pick up your virtual scuba diving masks because we will share in a few seconds. We will share the link that you can use with your smartphones, and I will shortly explain you how to do it. I'm sure that you already tried if you had the opportunity, but I will just try to explain to everybody else how you can do the virtual dive. Let's just make it a try for the video. We have to do some low quality videos next time.
Umas das ilhas mais bonitas da Terra. Únicas, isoladas. Os Açores. Mas este paraíso está aberto. Não conseguimos identificar. Nós observamos nem todos os locais onde nós vamos tentar chegar mais tentar erradicar só a fonte aberta da fiscalização com os objetivos de utilização se seja uma solução possível, se seja a sociedade destas horas, para depois ter a estabilidade de pensar em próxima casa.
Eu não sei se me conseguem ouvir bem. Conseguem me ouvir bem? Can you hear me from there? Yeah? Okay. I switched to Portuguese and I only had an answer from the Portuguese school, which is natural. I will just make a few changes now because we are a little bit back on our schedule. And so I will ask Ana Faria to make a presentation later on. And now I will take the opportunity just to make the scuba diving experiences with you. And maybe instead of two different experiences, we will try to do the different scuba dives that we will be able to do right now. So we will skip the next one and we will go with the three. You can just pick one of the links. I will ask João to upload the slide with the link that you can use. Please, João. Não? É o que está na pasta com a hora. This is it. So I hope you can see in a second. Yes? Okay. So this is the link that you can use, and I must warn you that sometimes you can only make it work when you are in the using YouTube through YouTube, and maybe some of your cell phones won't work if you go through Google. But you can just write this link in your cell phones. I will do the same. I will copy the link here. And you can just check the symbol there in the bottom left where you see the click arrow in red in your slide. When you start the video, it's a small surprise because it's a scuba dive that you can do here in Portugal, in Sesimbra, which is a place near Lisbon where we are used to scuba dive because it's a wonderful place to do it, with calm and clear waters usually. And I already have my cell phone with that link. I don't know if you can see me, but you have to click on that link so that you can split the screen in two. And when you split the screen in two, you are ready to put it in your cardboard mask and to try to see the 360 virtual reality images. I don't know if you are able to do it, but you can. So the idea is to go to your cell phone go to this link that you have over here, in the bit.ly link, then press the icon on your bottom left corner of the screen, because you cannot see the image in VR 360 while you are seeing the screen, only one screen. You have to split the screen in two, like this one here, and then you put it in the cardboard mask and you can see it. And the cardboard mask is just to make you, to give you the opportunity to have this 3D perception of the images. Are you being able to do it? You can open the mic if you can put your mic on if you need some extra help to do it. But basically, this is it. Go to that link, click on that icon there that looks like a cardboard mask, actually, split the screen in two, and then put your cell phone into the cardboard mask. And you have to put it really next to your face so that you can see the 3D images.
Jeg er ikke klar nok. Ja. Hvis du liksom snur deg, så kan du se han som faktisk filmer oss.
Please feel free to look up and down, because it's really a 360 environment, and you can only experience the scuba dive if you do it.
Jeg tror ikke produksjonsbudsjettet for denne videoen her var sånn 1 million. Hvis man ser opp, så er det
Okay, let me just ask everybody to disconnect their mics so that I can hear from Norway first. Dag, can you just leave your mic on so that we can know if you are having some difficulties or if you are being able to see the images? Are you?
We are having some.
It works.
Can you switch off now, Hans or Dag, please? And I can just ask.
I can confirm that everything works. It works.
Okay, and thank you.
So they are okay. It's working. They're all on mute again.
Cool. So just unshare this screen, and now you can share the Dive 2 screen. So if you were able to do this dive, you were diving actually in Portugal, and you were diving in Sesimbra. And now we are giving you two different links. They will be much alike the first link. It's just changing the last number in your link. Now, Dive 2, that's it. And now you can either dive with dolphins, if you want, in the image that it's on top of the screen, or that will be on top of the screen. You can either dive with dolphins with that image, or you can dive with sharks, if you prefer, in the bottom one. So you have two links here. It's video 3 and video 4, and you can pick one up. Use the same the same icon in your cell phone screen, split the screen in two, and then put your cell phone in the mask, in the cardboard mask. So you can always try to do it a bit later again, because these links will be available for you. You can just use them. We'll upload those links also in the Facebook of Kids Dive, so you can go there and just pick them up and use the masks, because the difficult thing here is to have the masks available so that you can have that 3D experience that I was talking about. Okay? Now, I'm just trying to keep up with the schedule. And so what I will ask you is, are you patient enough so that you can proceed to the roundtable session? And I'm asking Professor Ana Faria if she's willing to go last in this presentation so that we can just go with the roundtable session. But only if you agree that we will use the coffee break 10 minutes so that we can pick up on the schedule. Is that okay for you?
Sorry, Federico, we did not get the last message. Can you just repeat it while I will?
Yes, I will repeat it. What I'm proposing you is that we can go right now to the roundtable session. You can make the questions that you want on the presentations that were already performed, and then we will finish the session instead of with the roundtable. We will finish the session with Ana Faria presentation on the network between the researchers from Portugal and Norway. Is that okay for you?
That's okay. We agree.
Okay. Professor Claudia, is that okay also for you that we start the roundtable right now?
Yeah, they need a break. I suppose we need it too.
Okay. Okay. Then let's make a short 10 minutes break then, and then we can come back to the session, and we will come back with the roundtable because we have some of the invited speakers here that have to leave at 11:30, and so we can just make the presentation, the final presentation at 11:30 then. Okay. So a 10-minute break would mean that at 11:05 we will be back here in this session. Okay? Bye. Okay. See you in 10 minutes then. Thank you. Deixa esta imagem aqui. Corta o som, tá bom?
Acho que também.
Federico? Oh, Federico, Federico, está-me a ouvir? Federico? 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 Está-me a ouvir? Oh, Federico, peço desculpa termos exigido um intervalo, mas os meus alunos já estavam a ficar muito cansados e irrequietos.
Okay. Não, tudo bem, Cláudia, não há problema. Assim, eu tenho sempre receio que os intervalos de 10 minutos sejam um bocadinho mais demorados do que os 10 minutos, mas talvez...
Já estão a entrar, esperemos que não. Algum ou outro chegará atrasado, mas obrigada.
Okay. So, it's now 11:05, so we should start. I will make a small change so that we can, at least with some of the invited speakers in the round table, to get somewhere near the schedule that we have planned before. And so I will just give the floor first to the ambassadors, to Ambassador António Quinteiro and Ambassador Westberg here present, and also to the students for questions that they may want to make the both ambassadors present. I will include in this first part of the roundtable Professor Emanuel Gonçalves, because you may have some questions also from the schools to Professor Emanuel Gonçalves, but I will mostly address one of the questions exactly to both ambassadors present, which is, can we do something that it's more than the sum of the parts? I mean, where can this take us, these interconnected networks of projects, both on ocean protection, on ocean literacy, and on science, trying to know a little bit more of the ocean. But I'm just putting forward this question because I'm always afraid that you are too shy to put the questions yourselves. So feel free just to ignore my question, and from both schools that are present here, feel free to put your own questions forward, both for Ambassador Westberg and to Ambassador António Quinteiro. Thank you. I don't know if you are shy or if you cannot hear me. Just make an okay so that I know that you can hear me and you are not shy. But anyway, I would start, because sometimes the hardest one is the first question. So I would start by only rephrasing this. What is the importance of these bilateral relationships to fill existing gaps? They can be on ocean protection or ocean literacy, but what is your perception, Ambassador Westberg and Ambassador António Quinteiro, and where can we go in the near future? Oh, I would ask yes, Ambassador Westberg to start, please.
Yeah, can you hear me in Yasai?
Yes.
Yes. See you. Hi, hope people Sarah. It's great to be here. Great to learn about this project, these activities, all the documentation and the importance of saving the ocean that we've already heard about. And let me say a few words about what we are doing in a bilateral and multilateral context, because that kind of fits well with the question from Professor Almeida. We are actually doing a lot, and we can continue doing a lot. This project is one very great example. You are the future. You know you are the future. You will save the ocean, and you will save us from destroying ourselves. And in the Blue Growth program, we have several other also projects that are aiming at developing new material like paint not harming the ocean, like fish net that can dissolve themselves, and also more research, lots of research cooperation going on between the two countries. But since the wider picture was brought into this, I'd like to mention also that both Portugal and Norway are members of the Ocean Panel, actually led by our outgoing Prime Minister, the Ocean Panel, making sure that we increase the knowledge scientifically and use it, really use it. So requiring every member of the Ocean Panel to elaborate comprehensive ocean planning, and Portugal and Norway are two of those countries. Lastly, or a few more things, we have the Ocean Conference coming up in Lisbon next year, where both Norway and Portugal will be very active in promoting the issues. We need the science, we need to know more, we need to safeguard that we reverse what we have heard here from Manuel Gonçalves. And let me lastly mention the arrival of Statsråd Lehmkuhl. Statsråd Lehmkuhl was here in September, the tall ship being part of the UN Ocean Decade. And then with the students, researchers, various high schools on board during a circumnavigation that will take place until from now, or from August this year till April 2023. And in January, it will revert to Portugal, calling on Horta Azores. So we are also looking at ways of, again, highlighting what we do together in making sure that we increase the ocean literacy. And I'd like to conclude by saying a huge thank you to all of you for taking part in this program and this project, because really we depend on you. And so congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure that EA Grant is in fact a great example of these interconnections that we can have. But Ambassador António Quinteiro, could you share your thoughts with us also on these or other issues that you feel are more important?
Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Perfect. Okay. So, first of all, hello to everybody. Thank you to everybody. Hello, Tove, my counterpart. So I would like to greet you, a very good friend. Tove made already the most difficult part of it, which was giving the institutional side of it. I will give the very personal one. I'm about to end my mission here in Norway. And I have been a diplomat for 37 years now. And the place where I feel more doing my job is when I am with these people around me. Because indeed, they are the future. In a certain way, I'm the present going into the past. They are the future. And when I am participating in this sensibilization action, common sensibilization action of what we as human beings, because I am also a human being, what as human beings can and must do in order to have a better future, a happy future, I feel that I'm fulfilling my job. That's the feeling I have right now. Of course, we have to thank to all the institutional environment, and of course the EA grants context is the founding of it all. But there is also the effort of Anstof here on my left. It's the third time I'm visiting this school. I always feel at home. When I look at them, I look at me some quite years ago, but I also look into them as what the world I've tried to help building into a better future can turn if they just do the right thing to do. That's what I would have to say at this moment.
Thank you, Ambassador Quinteiro. I would really like to hear some questions from the students. Can you just give us one for starters? I'm sure that the second one will come out really fast after the first one. Don't you have any question? I mean, do you feel that it's easy? We have one question. Yes.
Yeah. Could I ask a question about Kids Dive?
A question about Kids Dive.
About Kids Dive?
Yeah. Could I ask you a question about that?
Well, yes, you can.
Yeah. I was just wondering, since like there's still a pandemic, yes, but since it's kind of loosening up, and as said, to spring we can see each other again. How are you gonna? Because now you're doing a lot of virtual stuff. How are you gonna continue kind of the development of Kids Dive going into the future?
Well, what a wonderful question. Now I'm feeling a lot less anxious than I was 10 minutes ago, because now, as Antonio, I'm in my environment. Okay, that's a wonderful question, because we were not expecting this kind of success and this kind of development for this project. It started as a small project, a local project. And all of a sudden we were doing it all over Portugal, and now we are going to Norway next spring. It has been a huge growth. And I don't know if you like board games, but I just love board games. And I don't like to make moves that I'm not secure in my back. I always like to make secure movements, small movements. And this is kind of scary for me, because they are too large movements for me. So how will we do? We have to change the way that we look at Kids Dive. So we cannot be the 5 or 6 or 7 persons that are in the Kids Dive team. We have to make Kids Dive available for everybody, and nothing would make me more happy than to see other people doing Kids Dive projects in Japan, in Norway, or in Spain, or I don't know, in Madagascar, or wherever in the world. So that's the main challenge that we have now. It's how can we make this project something that can just spin off from our team to other teams. But please be aware that I was really not expecting, neither of us was expecting this fast growth of the Kids Dive project. So we are still trying to get used to the idea that there are people in Norway that are interested in doing Kids Dive, because that was not in our first plans. But thank you very much for your question.
May I fill in on what you just said? Because from our perspective, when we heard about the project, I felt strongly that if we didn't engage ourselves, commit ourselves to the project, I wouldn't be doing my job properly. One of the ideas we have in our minds when we develop projects like this is to unlock our students, chase them away from the classroom, and show them, demonstrate what we teach is relevant to them in their futures, and also to show them that the skills and knowledges that they receive from us are useful in practice through what we do. And I think that Kids Dive is a great example of how we can teach in the classroom and then go out and demonstrate the relevance and the truth of what we are doing. So when you, for instance, go out and see marine environments that have changed because of our actions as a society, and that this is happening on a global scale, I think that this the most effective way of bringing that lesson home is to actually exit the classroom. Most of the time we lock them in, and this is a way of releasing our students from the classroom. So I think this is a great project in that regard.
Thank you, Hans. I'm sure that there will be plenty of difficulties, because it's not the same diving in Sesimbra in Portugal or diving in the fjord in Norway. I only tried the fjord with an ROV, not scuba diving, but I'm sure that local adaptations have to be made. But I'm sure that included in this EA grant project, there are some manuals that we will write in English, so they will be available. Not for you to apply Kids Dive locally, not yet. It's not. We don't have time during the course of this project or the means to do it. But this is the first step to prepare some manuals in English that can be useful for other persons to do parts of Kids Dive in different places of our planet, because we also feel that. Inside the classroom, and I'm a teacher in our biology graduation, as my colleagues are here, and we feel the same as you. So we feel that either we take them outside and show them what is underneath the water, or we won't create that connection with the ocean. And if we don't create the connection, they won't act. They won't do more than share a few pictures in social media, or at least most of them won't. Most of them won't do it. Yes, there was another question. I would suggest that you take the opportunity to address your questions to Ambassador Westberg, because she will have to leave in a few minutes. So if you have some questions for us, you can address them later. Don't worry. But if you have some that you want to direct to her, just do it. I think there's a question from the Portuguese school.
Hi, I would like to ask if Kids Dive team already felt any changes in the community.
You are from Agostinho da Silva School?
Yes.
Yes. Well, your colleagues, if I remember it correctly, about 1.5 years ago, won a project from National Geographic, and they were thrilled with it, and they received some nice action cams as a prize. And they already organized an exhibition showing the things related to ocean pollution. Maybe I'm just saying this to one of the participants or to a colleague of those that group that won that prize. But I think that comes only after you get involved with Kids Dive. So what I'm saying is, yes, there are changes. Changes in behavior are very, very difficult to achieve. Usually you can much faster make changes in ocean literacy. That means that you learn things faster than you change actually your behavior. So that's a very ambitious objective, but we are trying to get there, okay? I don't know if we are there yet, because we are still evaluating that from the master degree from Tassiana, but that I show you the results, the preliminary results, and part of those results that are still not analyzed is actually changing behavior. So I don't have an answer yet, but I hope I have an answer in a few months. I think that Ambassador Westberg wants to address this question also.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Because I think the question raises the issue that it's all about what it's about this project, that knowledge changes behavior, like all of you have been addressing. And the more we know about the consequences of our actions in the sea and with the ocean, the more we change. And as a small example, my family has a small summer house in archipelago south of Oslo, Hvaler, 200 something small islands. That area has been not as cleared, not a protected area, but a maritime nature reserve, meaning that one will map the fish stocks, the coastline, all the diversity there, and also lots of information posted various places on the islands. And I think this is an example that the more we have of access, easy access to knowledge, the more we can then be more careful how we go with the boat, where we fish, how we fish, the issue of plastic, that is really the big issue. So yeah, I think it's changing. The awareness is growing, and partly thanks to a project like this one. Thank you.
Thank you. So some more questions before I introduce the other speakers or the other participants in the round table. We have another question. I'm having this chat notification. Okay, so Escola Professor Agostinho da Silva, you can address your questions either opening your mic or just writing in the chat. You can put your mic on. Yeah.
We have one question from Norway.
Okay, thank you, Hans.
Just we have another
question.
Wait. We have another question. You think we'll still have the opportunity to save the ocean?
Well,
if we act now.
Okay, I'll pass the word. I'll pass the word to Ambassador Westberg.
Well, I'm definitely not the expert here, but I mean, if we listen to the special representative of the UN Secretary General, Mr. Peter Thompson, he is really doing a great effort in raising concern and attention. He would say immediately, if we act now, but we have to act now. We have to stop the, what do you call it, acidification of the ocean, meaning we have to reduce the carbon emissions. That is really the big thing.
Yeah. Professor Emanuel Gonçalves can also address this issue. He already showed you in the presentation 3 ways how you can actually improve how we are dealing with the sea. But I'm sure that you will have a more elaborate answer for us.
No, not elaborate, Frederic, but yeah, I think that's a very important question. Do we still have time? And honestly, by the scientific answer is we don't know. But we have the obligation to do everything that is at our power to do. And for that, we need to change. And this is the most important thing that you need to understand. We cannot continue to do things the way we are, because if you continue to do things the way we are, science shows us where we end up, and we're not going to end up in a nice place. So you need to make sure that your leaders are up to speed to the changes that are needed today. So leadership is key here. Leadership by the countries, leadership by the companies, leadership by yourself. And of course, then, you know, I can sound a bit revolutionary because this is what we need right now. We cannot stand anymore with business as usual. So you have to fight against business as usual, because business as usual is what people are used to do. And so naturally, this is what people will tend to do. But we need every day to do differently, because if we don't do that, then there's no hope. The good news is that we know that this change can happen, and we have the tools to make it happen. But all of us are needed, and all of you are needed to make this transformation.
Thank you, Professor Emanuel Gonçalves. I would just add one additional thought. What is the alternative? Should we give up? So we cannot give up. So if we cannot give up, even if we are not able to accomplish all the objectives, which would be not to damage things too much, we have to keep on pressing. So there's no alternative. Okay, so if you don't mind, I think it's 11:30. So
Sorry about
thank you very much for being for participating in this session, Ambassador Westberg. Thank you. I will take maybe this opportunity to call on our other speakers before I pass on to the presentation of Ana Margarida Faria on the network between scientists from both countries. I would now have the opportunity to introduce Mafalda Matos, which is on my left. She's the coordinator of the Blue Growth Program from the EA grants. And so she will have the opportunity to say a few words also, just for a presentation.
Thank you, Federico. I am not the coordinator of the Blue Growth Program. I'm part of the team. The Blue Growth Program through EA grants. It's a financial program, and it's within the EA grants. Explaining what the EA grants are. The grants are a financial mechanism for one thing to work on strengthen the bilateral relations between Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. And on the other hand, it's a mechanism that works to reduce the gap on social and economic, on European and social economic countries. It works to reduce that gap. So we are some beneficiary countries like Portugal, Croatia, Bulgaria, Romania. There's a lot of beneficiary countries, and the Blue Growth Program is unique as it addresses. It's the only program that addresses directly to the sea issues in all mechanisms. We have three main pillars. It's mostly a program driven to blue economy. But as we were creating the program, we decided that we wouldn't and we shouldn't do that without the other two pillars that are crucial in our view. It's research in one hand and education in the other. As we cannot have we cannot better our blue economy and sea economy. We don't have knowledge and research. So about 30% of the program addresses those two pillars. The main goal is to have a healthy blue economy, sustainable, and always oriented to sustainability, of course, and ocean protection. I invite you to know a little bit about our Blue Growth Program. We are at egrants.com, search for us. And we have an open call now for training and job. So please, we're waiting for your applications. Thank you.
Thank you. I will. I didn't forget you, Hans. I know that you have a question there. I'm just feeling more people in the round table. I will take this opportunity to introduce now Patricia Conceição from the General Direction of Maritime Policy and also from Escola Azul, which actually was our, can I call her mother-in-law or something like that? Because she actually introduced us and contribute with names from people from schools from both countries to participate in this EA grant. So thank you, Patricia. Just so feel free.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to see this project truly becoming. I'm here as an ocean literacy to talk a little bit about ocean literacy, because I'm not going to talk about blue schools, both Agostinho da Silva in Portugal and Jessheim School in Norway are blue schools. The Jessheim School was our first international school. But I would like to just to say that it's a real honor to count on our partners, because ocean literacy is this, you have to use networks to proper increase knowledge and proper increase action. Mm-hmm. So the main objective, as Frederic was just saying, is that we change behaviors and we change attitudes. And that is a tricky part, a very, very tricky part. But I think that if we take this opportunity that the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Action is giving us, and we try to increase ocean literacy globally, because the decade is probably the perfect stage to bring ocean literacy to a widest audience, then we can maybe in the future get there. So try and behave and change behaviors, which is always the objective. And I would just like to say, because of the question that was asked by the Escola of the Portuguese Escola in Casal de Câmara, is that as Emmanuel said, you have to try to change things, but people who govern it. We can also make and that is probably the thing that we have to start doing. Are you? Yeah, yes. And so Emmanuel closed his presentation by saying, vote, post, and buy less, much less. Reduce waste, please. And that is one of the parts that younger generations can start doing now, is think on what you need, think of on what you really want to buy, and don't just buy for buying. Change your attitudes. And well, we can go on, and then if questions arise, we can talk a little bit more, but I don't think I have to explain what ocean literacy is. I just wanted to give a welcome to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. I think we opened up the panel a little bit now, so you can now address your questions whenever you feel right to do it. Yes.
We have a question here.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and articulate this in the best way possible. I kind of got two questions, if we've got time. But the first one is, you kind of say we need to stop doing like business as usual. So I just want to know your perspective on how we, as the younger generation, can kind of help the ocean in the most sustainable way possible.
I think this is open to all the panel, so whoever wants to answer, please feel free to do it.
Well, I can start. Well, hi. One of the ways you can help is after you increase knowledge, you can you can try to influence your peers, so other young people, okay? You can start by acting on the issues that you see, you can help find a solution, okay? So like activism doesn't have to be violent, but activism is needed. You have to show what you feel, show what you believe in, and fight for it, okay? And actually, research has shown that youth activism not only helps the youngsters to increase knowledge about the issues that they defend, but also it changes their conception on the nature of science, okay? And it helps their research and citizenship skills. So I think it's very important that you defend your causes and speak on them. I don't know if anyone else wants to.
I would like to add something. I think that not only they can influence their peers, but also the older generations. Yes. So parents they tend to change their behavior when their kids
show
them the right behavior. So
I can also fill in on that question. I think that younger people are more, they change their attitudes and beliefs more easily than we do. So we are more set in our ways. So if we change the younger generation and try and educate them in the right way, they will change their attitudes, and then they will bring that change into their actions in the future. So of course that takes a long time, much longer than probably we've got to actually address this problem. But if we don't do it, we are in for trouble.
Take the next one.
You said that we need good leaders if we are going to solve this problem. And one of the things we can do is to vote. I don't know about Portugal, but here in Norway, most of us are too young to vote. So my question is, do you have any advice on how we can influence the leaders without voting, and how we can do an impact on that?
And can you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah. Can you repeat the last part of the question, please?
Do you have any advice on how we can influence the leaders? Because we can't vote, so do you have any other way to influence them?
Well, maybe I would like to just add an idea, a thought. I think that Kids Dive it's kind of an answer also to that, because you can try to change how people around you or your colleagues in the same room live their lives. You can also change how your parents in your family change their behaviors. But you can go even further if you are not happy. And that's actually what we are doing with Kids Dive. That's actually me as a scientist. I was not happy on publishing papers on how things are getting worse and worse. And so it's kind of depressing, you know, because actually my career success is based on describing what's happening in the ocean. And that's not good, what's happening in the ocean. So I felt like, okay, then let's start a project on ocean literacy, try to change some behaviors beyond my family, beyond my students here at the university, and trying to involve as much people as I can possibly involve. And I think I shared that feeling with my team. And so, well, I think there are other people that were even more successful than I and my team are being right now. One of them was in my presentation, Greta Thunberg. All of you know her. And I think that you can increase the number of people that you want to influence if you are not happy with what you are doing, only refusing plastic when you go shop, or just posting some notes or some news in the social network. So I think you have all the world in front of you. I don't. I'm almost 50 years old, so I won't be able to influence lots of people, but you will.
Right.
Yeah. Can I say something? And it's actually an answer to you and to you. My name is Graciette. I'm a university lecturer at University of Oslo. And not in biology, I'm afraid, languages, Portuguese. And if you really want to change the situation, I would like to refer to what Patricia said, stop buying. Imagine if all the young people in Norway reduce their consumption to 50%. And then the whole young people of neighbor Sweden did the same. And then the whole young people in Portugal and so on. Then you would be controlling the big corporations. They are making money on you. Just do what Patricia said. You can actually change it. Stop buying as much. Stop consuming as much. If your parents cannot do it, you start. They will eventually do. Because you can, here is something concrete that you actually can do from today.
Thank you. I think that Professor Emanuel Gonçalves would also like to join in on this issue. Okay. And then maybe we will just close for now these questions, because Ana Faria, my colleague, is still waiting for a presentation to be made. And then I would finish up with some contributions from people that were not able to be here. But we are way out of schedule now. So Professor Emanuel Gonçalves, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I'd just like to provoke you a little bit further in response to your question. So, well, the first thing that you can do, of course, is go diving. Because if you go diving, you'll fall in love about the ocean and you'll care more. And so your behavior will change. So I will, call on all of you to try it if you haven't done so, because I think it's a transformative experience. But there's a second thing that you can do that while you can still not vote, you can prepare yourself to form a blue party. So you can all get together to form a party for the ocean. Somebody has to have the voice of the ocean. And this voice of the ocean needs to be in politics, because what is destroying the planet is not just our individual behaviors. This is something that people want us to believe, but it's not true. Okay, what is destroying the planet is the decisions by the leaders, both economic and political. So the political aspects and the economic aspects cannot be downplayed. And this is something that you need to realize. Of course, all our behaviors matter. And the solutions that were just pointed out are very important. We need to buy less. We need to be more conscious on what we do. But that's not enough. We need to change leaderships, and we need to change the way that the economy works. The economy needs to work not against nature, but with nature. And this is a different model of development. It's a different economic model. It's a different way. So we need parties to start defending this, and they are not there. We don't see them yet. So this is another challenge, if you want, that I would like to bring to you. And finally, you can annoy adults. Okay, I'm pretty sure that you already do that at home. I'm a parent of 2 teenagers, and I know what I'm talking about. But you can do better than that. You can bring your ideas, you can bring your vision about the planet that you want every day, so that adults feel uncomfortable. Because if adults feel uncomfortable, they will change as well. And we cannot wait for you to be in the leadership position to change things. We need to change things now with the adults that we have now, today. And so there's your role. That's something that you can do today when you go back home, when you are with your friends or your parents' friends. Annoy them about this, become uncomfortable, because then people will, I believe, start moving into the right direction.
Okay, thank you very much. Talking about, not teenagers yet, but Professor Ana Margarida Faria, he's here while still recovering from some days at home because of an infection precisely from the school, because she was a little bit sick. So I'm trying not to take too much time now, and please go forward with your presentation. And thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'll start by thanking Frederico for this invitation. It's always a pleasure to be in these events of Kids Dive. I've been watching Kids Dive growth for a quite long time, and it's an honor to be part of this project. Federico invited me to talk about an initiative that is funded by the EEA grants, which is called the FishNet. What is FishNet? First of all, FishNet is not a research project. Okay, it's an initiative funded by the Fund for Bilateral Relations. So this fund is meant to promote the interactions, the collaborations network between Portugal and, in this case, Norway. So the main goal of FishNet is to establish a solid network in the research field of global change impacts on fish. We are a group of researchers from Portugal and Norway that share scientific interests, and we are mainly aiming at promoting discussion and exchange of expertise and knowledge on anthropogenic related stressors. The team has complementary expertise in the fields of behavior, ecology, biology, conservation, genetics, evolution, and global changes. And this multidisciplinary approach, is a very important approach if we want to understand how species can cope with future global changes. Here is the team. Me and Clara Amorim are the Portuguese researchers. Then we have Anne-Christine and Karen de Jong from the Institute of Marine Research, Elizabeth and Sebastian from NINA, and Trond from the Norwegian University. We not only share a common interest in conservation biology, but we also are connected by scientific interest in this species here. This goby, this two-spotted goby, it's a small fish, which interestingly distributes from Portugal to Norway. So this is very useful. Because the coastal areas of the northeastern Atlantic are one of the most heavily impacted areas in terms of anthropogenic pressure. So it's very important to address climate change in a more broader sense. And since the same species can have local adaptations, it's highly important to understand how different populations of the same species respond to the threats imposed by global changes. So let me tell you just a little bit more about this species. It's a small goby, 4 to 5 centimeters in the adult phase. It has these beautiful colors. It has sexual dimorphisms, means that we can identify females and males. Female is the one standing on the front with that very orange belly, means it's pregnant, it's full of eggs. And behind you have the male with those beautiful, beautiful blue colors in the dorsal fins. And these fish are demersal spawners, which means they lay eggs in the nest. The male builds the nest and protects the nest and invites the females to lay the eggs in the nest. And why is this species so important? Because it has been used by our Norwegian colleagues to address issues related to sexual selection. And why is that? Because the species lives for about 1.5 years to 2 years, and it has a long breeding season. And in the beginning of the breeding season, you have a different sex ratio, a biased sex ratio. You have more males and less females. And it's the females who are picky, who are choosy. So it's more or less what happens in the animal kingdom, except human kingdom. But by the end of the season, there is a reversal of the roles. And you have more females, and it's the males who get to be choosy. Mm-hmm. So the next video shows you, you have that orange lady there, a big belly, and then you can see that beautiful male, and he's doing the courtship. He's trying to, and you can see the other fish around are also males, but that one, the blue one, is the dominant one. And he's trying to impress her and do the courtship dance around her to take her to the nest. You can see his beautiful colors. He's showing off, displaying that dorsal fin. She's not that interested. So maybe she's gonna go around and see what's the competition. This is in the beginning of the season. João, maybe you can move on to this is late season. So you can see all those orange bellies, it's the females. So you have more females by the end of the season, and they're actually chasing that adult there. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of females doing the courtship behavior, showing their orange bellies, but the male again is also not interested. So due to this seasonal sexual reversal and sexual selection and differences in sex ratio throughout the breeding season, this species has become a model species to address sexual selection. But not only that, it has proven to be a very good model species to keep under laboratory controlled conditions. And this is very important. This is these are pictures from our fish facilities here at ISPA. This is very important to have a good model species in the lab because this is where we can simulate conditions such as warming or acidification or hypoxia or other stressors we want to address because we can control the conditions, and this is highly important. Moving on to FishNet. So this initiative had several activities planned. One of the activities was field trips, to see in loco the fish, their habitat, their behavior. So our friends, our colleagues from Norway just traveled last September to Portugal, and we were lucky enough to go on two field trips to Rábida, where we got the chance to do some snorkeling, and we were lucky enough to see the two spots underwater while just snorkeling. Just let me see if you can see the fish. There they are, happily swimming around. So why were those field trips important? Because they allowed us to have already some clues on what we can plan for future. For example, we saw differences in the habitat, namely how deep the fish are. These are photos that maybe our students from Norway recognize. They are photos from Norwegian field sites, mostly fjords, very calm conditions. The fish are seen very low deep, so you can just snorkel and do your field sampling there. Here we have our colleague Trond Manson, who is just sampling in the field. So he's snorkeling, he's sampling, he's doing his behavioral observations. So logistically, it's easier to run behavioral observations under these conditions. On the other hand, these are photos from Frederico taken at Sesimbra. On our coast, they live a little bit deeper, between 3 to 10 meters more or less. So this means that we need scuba diving. We can't work just snorkeling. Otherwise, you will just see the fish from the top, and that's not interesting. You need snorkeling. For that, you need a boat. You need more people involved. You need good sea conditions, and you need good visibility. So you may not know, but this increases the logistics involved in field sampling exponentially, and also limits what we can do and plan for future work in the field, or at least work that relies on field observations. And this is a very important baseline observation. We also saw differences in the size of the fish. So the first thing that our colleagues, after they did the snorkeling, what they said was that we only saw juveniles. And I said, no, they were adults. No, they were juveniles. They were very small. No, they were adults. So it might be random that we only got to see the smaller fish, but then we went to search for our databases and we actually found out that this size difference is real. Fish in the northern locations are larger than fish from the southern locations. And this was somehow surprisingly because here in our latitudes, temperature is much nicer throughout the year. And we all know that temperature influences a bunch of life history traits, physiological process, and it generally increases, temperature increases growth rates. So why are we seeing smaller fish here? This led us to a lot of discussions related to temperature aspects. Temperature increases growth, so why are we seeing the smaller fish here? But our friends from the northern locations have an advantage. Throughout their breeding season, from approximately from May to August, September, they almost have, they have more than 20 hours of light in a day. And this means they can feed all the time. And these fish are constantly feeding. And most likely, this is why we are seeing larger fish up there, because they have more opportunity to feed. Opposite in our latitudes, they have the 14-hour light cycle during the summer, so less opportunity to feed and grow. Maybe this is it, but this outcome of the field trips was very interesting because it provided us the basis for address further research questions. We were also able to do an open workshop for researchers and students entitled Human Impacts on Fish Biology and Marine Ecosystems. It was a theme with a workshop with very broad themes. But since I am trying to convince everyone that the two-spotted goby is the key to address climate change issues, I will focus on the presentations on the outcomes of the talks that addressed the impacts of anthropogenic related stressors on the two-spotted goby. And I will focus on reproduction. It's a key trait in every organism. So reproduction is a very expensive and energetically expensive process due to the energy invested in gamete production, in courtship, in nest defense, in egg care. So due to these energetic costs, the reproduction usually occurs within a very narrow environmental range set to favor offspring quality. So any stressor that affects reproduction might have further impact to the offspring. In fact, there are stressors that, in face of a stressor, fish may even sacrifice reproduction for a chance of increased survival. And as you've heard from Emmanuel Gonçalves, there are many stressors that marine organisms are currently facing. Other than ocean warming and ocean acidification, which you've already heard about, you also have, for example, noise pollution. You might not know, but fish are not only good listeners, they also communicate acoustically. They need acoustic signals to communicate for predator-prey interactions, even for reproduction, for the courtship behaviors. And the marine environment is becoming full of noise from shipping, from seismic surveys, from boat traffic. You can see here, maybe it's very small, but there is one goby there. He's not only displaying courtship sounds you can hear, but it's okay. I just wanted to illustrate that these fish not only rely on visual displays, but they also rely on acoustic signals for courtship behavior as well. So since their environment is becoming so noisy, maybe the signal is getting lost in translation. So what we already know with these two-spot goby under lab control conditions is that all stressors, acidification, temperature, noise, affected reproduction success. CO2 boosted reproduction, but actually they reproduced more under CO2 conditions, but that affected the offspring quality. temperature decreased the reproductive success, it decreased the offspring quality, and also noise masked courtship signals. So this is what we know, this is our baseline knowledge. So what about the next steps? This initiative was very productive. We had the chance for gathering all these researchers in the same table. We got the chance to go to the field. We got the chance to share our knowledge, our experiences, our best practices, and we have the ideas to put forward. We now need the funding calls. So I hope that I've convinced you that we can address some of the climate change issues on such a small fish species as this goby, the two-spotted goby. And I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anna, for your nice and really short presentation. I'm sure you made a huge effort to keep it as short as possible. I think that we are reaching the end, but I cannot, of course, I cannot finish this session unless I open your questions to Anna. And I take this opportunity maybe to ask Line here. Can you come here, Line, please? It's just a small surprise because Anna was talking about networks of scientists, and we can also talk about networks of students. So I want you to meet Line, which is from Norway, and she will just have a few seconds. I'm sorry, Line, but she will have a few seconds just to share some ideas with you because she's a Norwegian student here in Portugal. She's working in marine biology, and I will just give her a few moments just to share some thoughts with you. Thank you, Line.
Thank you. Som dere kanskje hører, så er jeg fra Bergen. Jeg tok min bachelorgrad på Universitetet i Bergen. Så tok jeg en internasjonal mastergrad ved forskjellige universiteter i Europa, og nå har jeg endt opp her i Portugal. As I was saying in Norwegian, that I am from Bergen, and I did my bachelor in the University of Bergen and an international master degree. And now I ended up here in Portugal, which I'm very happy for, and doing my internship here.
Okay, thank you, Line.
Thank you.
I think that this is a way for you to understand in practical terms how we can interconnect not only researchers but also students, as you already know, of course. But I will open now the questions both for Ana Faria with a wonderful two-spotted goby. I was just imagining the fish trying to impress the females doing some push-ups or something like that. But I will open now for questions with Anna, and then I will just pass on a couple of videos just to finish the session, and I'm sure that we can later go have lunch. So please feel free to ask questions either to Anna or to Line. You have to open the mic, Hans.
One quick question from Hans.
One quick question then to Anna. So the FishNet is a network of researchers. So what do you do to make your findings more known across your networks? How do you do that?
Sorry, could you repeat it?
Could you repeat, Hans?
Of course. How do you make your results more known? Normally, what kind of efforts do you do in the FishNet network to make your results more known, so that you can have a more of an impact?
Okay, so one of our concerns as scientists is to spread the words among our peers. So the results of our scientific research are usually published in scientific papers, so that at least we can spread the word among the scientific community. But then it's always our concern to bring the knowledge to the students. And for that, I'm not only engaged in promoting ocean literacy actions such as this one. I'm always active in schools, and this is where I promote the research we've run here in the lab, but also in the field, and the network that I've been able to run with the colleagues not only from Norway but from other parts of the world.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. I believe that we are now getting close to the session. As I told you before, the links for the virtual dive are already available in our Facebook and hopefully in the Instagram also, if they are not already done. But they are saying to me now that they are already available if you want to try your masks later. I cannot leave without letting Professor Claudia in the session also, because I'm sure that she will have a few words to share with us, and then I will leave you with a small video, both from Professor Claudia and also from the president of the Sintra municipality, that it's also a partner. But I'm guessing that we can, with those two videos and the intervention of Professor Claudia, maybe we can now finish the session, that it's already taking a few more minutes, let's say that, than was initially predicted. So Professor Claudia, can you open your mic?
Yes.
And,
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that yearly it was my presentation. I think it's now, well, I hope that the internet school doesn't break, because we are having some problems with that. But my presentation will be small and brief. These are my students. They are the 9th grade. And I'm a science teacher for 23 years. For the last 13 years, I'm teaching here at Professor Agostinho da Silva School in Sintra, near from Lisbon. It's a middle school. I have been part of the Kids Dive project for 4 years, and I must confess that I had learned a lot about the ocean and its resources. Portugal depends a lot of the marine resources, so we have to use them sustainably. It's urgent to spread this knowledge to the community, and
we are getting a little bit of lag here now,
in the student.
but you can pick up. Yes, Professor Claudia.
Sorry.
Well, you don't have to say sorry after all the problems that we just had in our university. So it's, I think it's perfectly understandable.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
No?
Yes, with a bit of lots of cuts, but can you try again?
No.
No.
We can hear you. We can hear.
Okay, let me make a suggestion. Maybe if you switch off the video.
We can hear you.
Okay, maybe you can try now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
as I said,
bit laggy,
our
but yes.
internet is awful today, but you can hear me.
Yes.
A little bit. Well, as I said yearly, I'm so proud to participate in this international project. and I'm look forward to knowing a new reality school and to welcome some Norwegian students in our beautiful and sunny country. Some of the students were eager to tell you about their experience in Kids Dive. They made a small video with their thoughts on what they have learned so far. Please, Federico, put the video on and take you all. I'm sorry about our internet. Bye.
Bye-bye, Professor Claudia.
Say bye.
And students. Thank you very much for your video that you shared with us. I'm sure that we will now be able to put it forward. It's only a few minutes video, so it won't take long. And afterwards, we will finish with a small video also from the mayor of Sintra municipality. And then we just can close the session. So if you can, that's it. And thank you for this wonderful video, Professor Claudia, and the students that participated in it. I don't know if you will be able to hear them, but they left the message in English, which I'm sure that some of them were quite nervous. Just like I was in the first half of this presentation.
Kids Dive, I learned that Portugal is ocean.
With Kids Dive, I learned how to preserve the ocean. With Kids Dive, I learned that the ocean is extremely important to the planet, as life originated in them. They are the great producers of oxygen. In fact, it occurs through oceanic microalgae.
With Kids Dive, I learned about the ocean biodiversity.
With Kids Dive, I learned that in nature, there is a reason for everything.
With Kids Dive, I learned a lot about the ocean, the species, the biodiversity, and I also learned a lot about the ocean pollution and about the global warming.
So in Kids Dive, that we have to change our behavior as far as the ocean concerns, so that we keep it in the best conditions in the future.
Kids Dive, I learned new species. I learned that the pollution affects marine species a lot, and if we don't contribute to end the pollution, this will get worse day after day. Through Kids Dive, many of my questions were clarified.
Kids Dive, I also learned that the oceans regulate the planet temperature, interfering with atmospheric dynamics and climatic types.
With Kids Dive, I learned that oceans must be respected and preserved.
Kids Dive, I learned that the oceans are important because they're responsible for part of the absorption of the carbon dioxide in the world, as well as for a big part of the oxygen.
The oceans are important because they sustainably provide a rich in biodiversity ecosystem. They're responsible for the works we make, provide food and work for millions of people, and also serve to generate energy in coastal areas.
Kids Dive, I learned how to respect the ocean.
Thank you very much for your contributions. I'm sure lots of anxiety was present while making those videos, but thank you very much for your contribution to Professor Claudia and all the students. And now I will just go straight forward for a message from the mayor of Sintra municipality, our partner in this project. I can later fill you in on the details, on the highlights of the presentation. But because you will notice that it's in Portuguese. Anyway, I will give you the highlights of the presentation later on for you at Norway.
Tenho o maior gosto de estar hoje convosco neste evento, a que a Câmara de Sintra atribui particular importância. O ambiente é uma matéria universal, ou seja, hoje, em todo o mundo, as questões ambientais estão na agenda de todos os países e de todos os governos. Mas uma coisa é estudar o ambiente desta maneira quase universal, outra coisa é agir localmente. E é, portanto, nossa obrigação agir localmente, protegendo o ambiente e, fundamentalmente, valorizando todas as matérias ambientais que temos sob nossa responsabilidade. Proteger e valorizar. Bom, em Sintra nós temos uma costa de cerca de 20 km. Temos praias maravilhosas, temos o Atlântico profundo, verdadeiro, e por isso é a nossa preocupação defender e valorizar essa área. Estamos nesta altura, portanto, a trabalhar na criação de uma área marítima protegida, em conjunto com os nossos vizinhos, com Mafra e com Cascais. Obviamente que esta matéria não podia ficar, as escolas não podiam ficar aliadas deste esforço. E por isso o Kids Dive é um projeto muito original e que se insere nesta preocupação, localmente, ou seja, fazer com que as escolas, que os jovens participem neste esforço de proteção da nossa área marítima protegida. Bom, é por isso mesmo que este evento tem tanta importância, pela troca de experiências, pela avaliação do que foi feito e pelo muito ainda que há a fazer. Desejo-vos, pois, um bom trabalho e esta certeza que a Câmara Municipal de Sintra está convosco, totalmente empenhada na defesa e na valorização do nosso património. Neste caso marítimo, mas também todo o património imobiliário, património da nossa cultura, que também é património, enfim, tudo aquilo que faz de Sintra esta história nacional e internacional que nós temos a responsabilidade de seguir. Obrigado.
So just to fill you in on the main details, and I'm sure that Ambassador António Quinteiro will be able to tell you if I'm being truthful to the message or not. But the point is that Dr. Basílio Horta, President Basílio Horta, is looking forward for projects like this one that are on ocean literacy, and is willing to act in practical terms, facilitating the creation of a new marine protected area that will involve parts of the coast of Sintra municipality. So this is something that it's in the beginning. I'm sure that if you want to know some details, some additional details, Professor Emanuel Gonçalves here will be the right person for you to address those questions. But I'm very happy to see that ocean literacy projects can be interlinked with projects that will implement, in practical terms, ocean protection by the creation of marine protected areas. So we will always be available to help and to put different stakeholders talking with each other to do it and to increase these kind of ocean literacy projects investment so that we can transmit it to the next generation, but do it right now. So thank you very much. I think that if you want to say a few words or make some quick question, we can just keep the session open for a couple of minutes more. Afterwards, I thank the presence of everybody and hope to see you soon.
Well, thank you for your effort and time to put this conference together. So I would like to thank all the participants in Portugal and for all your interventions. This has been very instructive. We look forward to make happen our exchange in the spring. So we look forward to go to Portugal with a select group of students. And also thank you to Agostinho da Silva School for doing this exchange with us, for making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I know if some of my colleagues present here in the session want to make some final remarks, please do if you want. No.
Just everyone go dive.
Okay. A final thank you for all the students that you have in your classes right now and that are probably thinking about lunch. So let's let them have their lunch, which is more than deserved by now. And I have also learned something as the students of Professor Claudia, that you cannot put a session that takes 3 hours in 2 hours planning a session. So I'm also learning, and I hope I can do better next time. Thank you all, and hope to see you soon.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Dag.